What's the dumbest rule you had in school? No one was allowed to have or say the word Dr. Pepper because it was the password to a shared browser's account the administration found out about. We couldn't wear winter clothing in class, coats, gloves, hats, even with the heat on. It got cold in the winter inside the school, so we just had to freeze. They said it was because winter clothing were gang symbols. This was a farm town in Wisconsin. In primary school, we weren't allowed to put our rubbish from our lunches in the bin. I distinctly remember being in an assembly where the head teacher said your lunchbox is your bin. I mean, did she think the bins were for decoration? So stupid. When I was in high school, taking my second year of photography class, everyone was called into the auditorium for an assembly. It was to announce that cameras were no longer allowed to be used on campus due to privacy issues. This was about 2 weeks after the school had installed security cameras everywhere in the school. The boys weren't allowed to wear shorts at my middle school, but the girls could wear culottes, basically shorts with a fancy name. One day about 100 boys came to school wearing culottes. The man had it stuck to him hard that day. My middle school banned hugs. At least, they banned front hugs. The rule was against chest-to-chest contact, regardless of context or gender. No chest bumps after a game. Several girls got in trouble for hugging their female friends goodbye after school. It was a strange place. Edit, to clarify. This was a public school in a suburban area in a liberal part of the country, us. I don't remember whether there was a ban against hugs from behind. I'll try to ask some old classmates when I get home and update if any of them remember. School mandated haircuts. Edit, wow. This blew up. It was only for the boys. By the way, for the girls, so long as you didn't color your hair other than its natural hair color, you were good. Checkup was every Monday, when we were lined up, according to height, for the flag ceremony because the school president wanted to share all the good news with us, which ranged from positive events to one of their staff and students winning awards, etc. The prefect was very strict about it, but the teachers weren't, so we'd just skip mornings every few Mondays so we didn't have to get a haircut. No colored shoelaces, apparently it was a sign of gang affiliation. No toe shoes, it looked too much like you were wearing only socks. No eating outside the cafeteria, this was to reduce litter in the hallways, but our school cafeteria could only fit 100-ish people, so everyone ignored it. They tried enforcing it by guarding the cafeteria doors so those buying lunch couldn't leave, but then people just stopped buying school lunch. Edit, for clarification. No water bottles because a few girls 4 years ago snuck vodka into the bathroom. At my grade school we weren't allowed to wear ankle socks. You would get detention if you did. No Simpsons anything. This was when it premiered. And there was this national scare that Bart was a bad influence. There were 2 popular Bart shirts that were banned. One that said "I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?" and another that said "Bart Simpson, underachiever and proud of it." This eventually evolved into banning all Simpsons shirts, school supplies, stickers, etc. after some of the teachers started watching the show. They boys were not allowed to have doors on our stalls. We had a brick wall about 4 feet high between toilets with nothing in front. They said boys would ruin them. Girls were not supposed to hold hands or else they would turn lesbian. It wasn't the rule, but the wording. Grade 9. They made an announcement that you couldn't show your ass crack in the school. The admin decided to word that as no back cleavage. Edit for grammar. In elementary school, we couldn't kick a ball at recess because the school was afraid we would kick the balls to the top of the building. Needing to wait 10 minutes before and after classes have started to use the restroom. My adolescent body with developing Crohn's disease did not take kindly to this rule, and got into fights with the bathroom monitor often, someone who would make sure nobody was in the bathroom for too long doing drugs. having sex, other things of the sort. Thankfully the principal had a heart of gold and gave me a special pass to use his personal private bathroom, which was so nice and clean. In a high school of 5,000 teenagers, being able to poop in peace at the rate you go with Crohn's disease made my life somewhat less poopty, pun intended. No balls over the diameter of 1.4 feet. My school was weirdly accurate, we still brought in footballs. No balls over 1 foot, brought in smaller footballs. No balls over 10 centimeters, brought in tennis balls. No balls over 5 cams. Pelted the windows with our dad's golf balls. Eventually got removed due to the fact that the word ball could be misinterpreted. Exclamation point. In 3rd grade we had to have playmates. It basically meant that we couldn't play with our friends on the breaks recess. We had to play in a group. That group was filled with students from other classes too. Not fun. Can't wear ed to school. So stupid. No hats was basically the only dress code my school had. The dumbest thing was Marizo, the reasoning behind it. It was put into effect after Columbine because apparently different groups, jocks, nerds, goths, etc., wore different headgear to differentiate themselves. We weren't allowed to be indoors for more than 5 minutes at recess. This was in Canada and indoor recess started when it was below -25°C. Instances of school-wide diarrhea really shot up during the winter. At any point you may not talk during lunch. And may not laugh at large stills in the bathroom. I poop you not. Excuse the pun. Edit. I am from the UK. Our school banned black socks. It was a public high school in a predominantly poor neighborhood, so the parents didn't give a poop and bought whatever socks were cheapest or didn't have the money to buy all brand new socks again. It got to the point where we'd have whole school assemblies on it and the teachers threatening to suspend kids from school for wearing black socks. Couldn't wear flip-flops because they were considered a weapon, but you could wear stiletto heels. No one could wear Joe's Crab Shack shirts. At first it was just the tie-dye ones that said peace, love and damp, crabs. Because of the implication of hanky-panky and pubic lice, I suppose? It was a stretch. But then they expanded to any Joe's Crab Shack shirts. My friend had to wear a pay shirt all day because her shirt was a Joe's Crab Shack shirt. It didn't have offensive slogan on it. It just had a picture of a crab and the restaurant's name. She still had to change shirts. She was so embarrassed because no one wants to wear your pay shirt all day. In grade school we were told not to use spoons. Only babies used spoons. Yet they gave us spoons. Clear or mesh backpacks only. This was from 1st grade through high school in the late 90s to early 2000s. We also had to wear a safety vest as our bathroom pass in high school. It was such a joke that the first year the rule was introduced, our yearbooks were a giant safety vest on the outside. Honestly, the thought of a shared unisex safety vest for bathroom visits still grosses me out, as I know those things were never washed properly. Edit. This was before Columbine happened. In primary school, we weren't allowed to use erasers. We were never told why. Halfway through 8th grade they decided to ban all beverages including water from use by 8th graders. A couple of kids brought vodka in a water bottle to school and they decided the best option was no liquids at all. We couldn't even bring in sealed beverages or unopened cans because they could have been tampered with. Buses were not allowed to depart at the end of the school day until the flag on the flagpole outside the main entrance had been taken down and properly put away. If someone forgot, all the buses would sit there idling for as long as it would take until the flag was dealt with. In middle school, had a stupid as all hell one-way hallway system, where students could only walk in the halls one direction. Made me late twice actually, since my class was the first one behind the exit door. But forced to go in the entrance door. Was enforced even when halls were empty. One stick in the mud teacher threatened to write me up if I questioned the rule. Went to a Catholic school where there was a big white line painted across the schoolyard, and during recess boys played on one side and girls on the other. We were not allowed to intermingle during recess even though we weren't separated during class or lunch. I'm a guy and all my friends were girls, so we used to stand at the line and talk. Go in trouble many times for that. Also in high school. Post-Columbine. We weren't allowed to carry backpacks around the school. We had to leave them in our lockers and carry our heavy ass textbooks around. In middle school we weren't allowed to talk at lunch or else we would get put up on the wall and get handed a detention. Well, 3 of them. No mechanical pencils or any pens that click. Teachers found that poop annoying. No peeing outside the toilet or urinal. Common decency, but if you're caught, you would get a call to your parents. The rule isn't stupid. It's actually really good. But the people who it's targeted at are zero tolerance policy. It's in nearly every school. I haven't had any encounters, but it does strike people hard. Imagine getting beat up. And getting punished for being beat up because you happen to be involved even though you did nothing. It's a PP of a rule. Girls couldn't wear tank tops because showing armpits wasn't allowed, but guys could wear wife beaters. Made no sense. No chains on wallets back in the day when chain wallets were the thing, so dudes replaced their chains with pearl necklaces as an FU to admin. No black lipstick allowed. Oh. And they were really concerned about starter jackets and gang activity. This was a small farm town of like 700. Total overreaction. Also, most high schools allow you to attend a shorter day if you've met your graduation credits, but we had to sit all day, and sometimes that meant having 2-3 study halls if we had already met requirements. Such a waste of time. Backpacks weren't allowed to be worn during the school day in middle school. It was the dumbest thing since you wear your backpack everywhere in high school and college. Hair couldn't be extreme. Colored or pastel lobes for guys, as it would be considered a distraction to others. I had long hair past my shoulders and would not cut it. Was a nicer lot. It's a silly thing to get detention for. Kids don't go to school to be told how to dress and how they should look. I remember how much of an impact the Breakfast Club movie had on me in my junior high days. On the first day of class, my 7th grade writing teacher demanded that we all buy comfortable pens. On the second day of class, she went desk to desk sampling our choices. Several students, myself included, experienced awkward embarrassment when she slammed down our pathetic pens and shouted nope. When I was a freshman in high school, late 80s, there was a designated smoking area on campus. It was a square. Maybe 10 feet x 10 feet painted on the ground in the courtyard. Students could only smoke in that box on campus. The next year they decided that you could only smoke in that box if you had a note from your parents. The year after that, no students were allowed to smoke on campus. My senior year, staff wasn't allowed to smoke on campus. This resulted in the box metaphorically moving to someone's driveway across the street, where students and teachers were all smoking together. Bandanas and headbands that were similar to bandanas were banned and ad. The reason was that it increased gang violence among 11-14-year-olds in the suburbs of a small town in Canada. In elementary school, kindergarten through 4th grade, we had this rule. When we went to lunch, there were 2 cups on the table stacked on top of each other. One was red and one was green. When lunch started, the red cup was on top and we weren't allowed to talk. Then, 5 minutes before lunch ended, they would switch it to green and finally allow us to talk to each other. You have to ask permission to have a drink. This rule got ignored when I was in year 10. But I still remember one teacher just screaming at me for taking a sip of water on a hot day. In middle school we weren't allowed to chew gum. I was caught and had to write a 2,000 word report on the history of pizza. I wrote that damn report and my teacher forgot and never asked for it. Girls weren't allowed to wear skirts or dresses. Not even an official rule. Our math teacher decided that for us non-American here, we need to pay fine when we don't speak English in school. In every class leader used to note down student names who ever speak their native language other than English. This rule went on for 2 years and then they finally removed it. In my high school you can't play cards unless it's since playing cards are used for gambling. My best friend got detention for clapping, even though a lot of other people were clapping, because he disturbed the lunch period and supposedly started it all even though he didn't. You can't sing happy birthday in the cafeteria. You can't do a proposal on school grounds. No solid red, blue, and towards the end of high school, no purple either. God forbid you wear more than one item with the same color. When I was in middle school, that god-awful Shrek is Love Shrek is Life video came out and the student council wanted to have a Shrek Spirit Day because of it. So the school banned Shrek and anyone who talked about it got a detention. A student at a different school slid down the banister on some stairs and got seriously injured. As a result, all students were banned from using one of the 5 staircases at my school. So we could all die on this one staircase, but the other 4 were completely safe. Junior high was riddled with stupid rules. Most of them had to do with our general appearance. One time I got sent home because my pants weren't the correct shade of blue to match the ugly ass uniform. The principal had to drive me home so I could change pants, wasted valuable hours of my school day and education just because of a color. Edit, a word. Raising your hand and asking to go to the bathroom is universally a dumb rule. I'll never forget going to college and hearing professors tell us we didn't have to raise our hands. Wait to be called on, then ask if we could go pee. A basic bodily function. As adults, it was the first time I'd ever thought of it that way because I was so used to having to ask while in school and I didn't know of any other way. Edit, some people are explaining why the rule makes sense. And I totally see those reasons. I'm in law school now and my 9:30 AM class has about 80 people. People get up and leave the room all the time. All through class. And honestly it can be super distracting. I only leave the classroom in an emergency type of situation, really need to use the bathroom. I'm getting an important phone call, etc. I rarely leave class. As someone who never did and would not abuse bathroom privileges. Even in elementary school I wouldn't have. It just sucks knowing that I always had to raise my hand and wait to be called on to go just because some students would possibly abuse the rules if we were allowed to go as we pleased. Knowing you wouldn't be a rule breaker but that others ruined it for you sucks, haha. In elementary school, when we'd line up at the water fountain after recess, a teacher would be standing next to us and counting 1, 2, 3 times up. They had a bull poop 3-second rule at the water fountain. I was in the 1st grade. We only had one recess and it was in the late afternoon. We had to walk in a straight line to the playground. Stand in the playground yard in a straight line quietly while the 2 teachers who pulled playground duty lead us through some basic exercises. Here is the problem, we are 1st graders. It's late afternoon. And you honestly expect us to stand there on a playground after an entire day of sitting in class at our desk doing work and listening to instructions. And only having one break, lunch, and do basic exercises while standing on a fricking playground? I am a sadist and this school taught me how to do it. Well. And when we wouldn't properly do what we were told, the basic exercises continued. Meaning less time playing and burning energy and having just a little bit of fun during the day. Sometime in January something happened and we royally pissed off those 2 teachers. So when they pulled recess duty there was no exercising and playing. No. We had to stand in line for the entire recess period. So about twice a week for the remainder of the school year. This school taught me sadism. Taught me well. No Oakland Raiders attire or black and grey colored clothing. Reason was because those are the colors of one of the largest gangs in Chicago. Of course. Living in an entirely white rich suburb hours north of the south side of Chicago was surely a huge risk of gang association. We had these self-study moments when no class fitted our schedule, so we had an hour off. The rules stipulated that no electronically amplified music, MP3 players, full stop, comma were allowed. They forgot. However, how creative seniors with nothing to do can get. So a bunch of us just brought in acoustic guitars and played around. The teacher overseeing us was chill about it as we didn't break any rules. The headmaster on the other hand hated it but changed it so that we could join in for extra PE if we wanted to. So at least we had that. My 5th grade teacher hated the smell of mint or fruity things. Had a strong sense of smell when it came to it. One day I was eating some Jolly Ranchers my buddy gave me and amp, when while in the middle of taking a test she started sniffing and amp, walking around the class. When she got to me, she knew. Put her hand down just under my chin and amp actually made me spit them into her hand. What? Leading to her implementing a rule for no types of candy in class or that fruity smelling kids perfume for the girls. TLDR teacher hated fruity minty smells. Made me spit Jolly Ranchers into her hand and amp, banned candy from her classroom. No ballpoint pens. No running in the hallways. Our school was an open space type. 3 times and you go to a guidance counselor to get evaluated for AskReddit. Hey you, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and hitting like. Also, if you have an Alexa device, you can say Alexa, open Reddit stories, to hear some of the all-time top AskReddit posts. Thanks for watching.